Welcome to this eLearn Security video on Android runtime analysis. In this video, we are going to see how to use a tool named Activity Manager in order to simulate user interactions and force Android applications to run intents or open activities directly from the command line. We will see how to retrieve intents information from compiled applications, since we will need them to configure the tool and force the application to perform specific operations. Our first target application is called Notepad. It's a simple application that allows us to write, save, and edit some notes. If you want to test it, you can find it in the Samples folder in the Android SDK. Here we can choose the API version we want to test. For example, let's say Android 16, and here it is in the application source code. During our test, we're supposed to only have the application installed on the device. In other words, we do not have access to the source code. That said, to start our test, we need to download the application from the device and then decompile it to get information from the Android manifest. To do this, we have to access the virtual device through ADB and download the APK file. So let's start a new terminal window and verify that the device is attached with the command ADB devices. And we see the virtual device is available. Let's start an ADB shell and navigate the app folder to see the name of the application file. Let's enter the folder with the command cd data app. Now we'll list the files. Here is the APK file. So let's pull the APK file from the device into our machine with the following command. ADB pull the directory. The file is com.example.android.notepad-1.apk, and the directory that we want to put it on our local machine, which is C Android app notepad.apk. Now that we have the application file stored in our machine, we need to decompile it in order to obtain a readable version of the Android manifest. To do this, we're going to use APK tool. So let's open a new terminal and move in the folder where the file has been stored. Now we can use APK tool with the following command. APK tool space D space notepad.apk space C users ELS desktop notepad. As we can see in our desktop, this command outputs a new folder which contains the Android manifest.xml file. Let's open it and see what information we can get. Right now we are interested in the application activities, so let's go down a few lines. And here we can see a few activity nodes. Let's focus on the activity named Notes List, which has an action, the android.internet.action.main. This is the intent that is called when we click on the app icon in our device. Let's verify it by reading logcat logs while we run the application. As we can see in this log, the operation is started while the intent is composed by the action main, the category launcher, some flag values, and the following component, which is composed by the package name plus the activity name. So now that we are sure that this is the intent that is called when we start the application on the device, we can use the Activity Manager tool to run the same intent from the command line. As we will see, this tool allows us to perform different operations such as start intents, start services, stop processes, broadcast intents, and much more. We can run the tool directly from the ADB shell. So let's go back into our terminal and run the command am to display all of the available commands. Here's the manual, It shows several options depending on the operation we want to run. Right now we want to start and display the first activity of the Notepad application directly from this shell. This is the same operation that occurs when a user clicks on the application icon from the device. So let's start writing our command, am_start, which informs the tool we want to start an activity. So we don't want to debug the operation or wait for the launch to complete, we just avoid putting any of the options available. But we do have to set the intent we want to use. As referenced in the help, we can use different options to set it. The first thing we have to configure is the action of the intent. So let's insert the option -a followed by the action, which is the same value written in the manifest. Android.intent.action.main. If we go back to the manifest, we can see this value in the action tag. To successfully run the command against the Notepad application, we need to set the component option. Since the action main is used by almost all the applications installed in the device, if we run this command, we will see that the device asks which app we want to run the action. Let's try to run it and see what happens. In this window, we can select almost every app in the device. This is not what we want. So let's close this and go back into our terminal. To add the component that will handle this action, we have to set the option -n followed by the correct component name. If we go back in the Android manifest, we can see that the package name is com.example.android.notepad and that the activity which defines this action is notelist. So our command will be -n com.example.android.notepad/.notelist. With this option, we are telling the operating system that the action must be handled by the component notelist in the package notepad. If we try to run the command again, we can see that the application starts on the device. This is the first screen of the application. In other words, this is the view that is loaded when we click on the application icon on the device. So right now we are able to start the application from our shell without interacting with the device at all. But this method doesn't work only for the main activity. It also works for almost all the activities defined in the application. For example, this time let's try to start the activity that is displayed when the user wants to insert a new note. To do this, let's go into the Android manifest and check what is the activity that manages new notes. Here we can see a new activity named Note Editor. If we scroll down a bit, we can see in the second intent filter node that there is an action called Insert. So let's try to edit the previous command with this new information. The command then will be am_start -a android.intent.action.insert, where insert is the new action we want to run. Since the action is a node of the node editor activity, we have to set node editor after the package name. So we add a /.nodeEditor. If we give a closer look to the manifest, we can see that this time there is a new node called data. This node includes the URI of the data that the intent must send. This means that if we want to start this activity, we have to set the data to. If we try to run the command without the data set, the application crashes. We can investigate the decompiled application or check the logs in Logcat. For example, if we monitor logcat while trying to create a new note from the device, we can see that the data value is content://com.google.provider.notepad/notes. Where content is the scheme of the data, com.google.provider.notepad is the authority and notes is the path. We can also get all the URIs by running the command strings against the file classes.dex contained in the APK archive. First, let's change the APK extension to .zip and extract the class.dex file. Now let's open a new terminal and extract all the strings with at least 8 characters. We'll use the command strings -n 8 classes.dex and we'll pipe it to the file uri.txt. Let's open the file with the output of this command and search for the string contents://. As we can see, here is a list of all the data URI used by the application. So let's try to add the data URI to the Activity Manager command and see if it works. We can add -d content://com.google.provider.notepad/notes. As we can see, the view for the new node is displayed on the device. So now that we have briefly seen how to display views directly from the command line, let's change our target application and use Secure Note. Let's start it on the device and see how it works. Secure Note is a very simple application which stores our notes. When it runs, it asks for a passcode in order to access those notes. There are many techniques that we can use to access them. For example, we could try to navigate the application files in order to find if and where the app stores the plain text of the notes. And we can check if the correct passcode is hard-coded in the binary. What we are going to see now is a different approach that is based on what we have seen up to now. We are going to bypass the passcode screen by using the Activity Manager tool. We will force the application to display the activity that contains all the notes. Since we don't have the source code, we have to decompile the binary and investigate the Android manifest. We've already downloaded and decompiled the application, so let's open the manifest. Here we can see that there are defined 3 activities: login, notes, and add note. As you can imagine, the login activity is the one that is displayed when we launch the application. In the intent node, we can find the action main. So let's first try to run this activity from the Activity Manager tool. Our command will be am start -a android.intent.action.main, which is the name of the action. And then we have to insert the component that is composed by the package name followed by the activity name. So in this case, it will be -n com.els.securenotes/.login. Let's run the command and see what happens. As we can see, the application starts on the device. Let's now edit our command in order to see if we are able to directly display the second view. If we go back into the application manifest, we can guess that the activity we are interested in is the one called Notes, and the action this time is List Notes. So let's edit our previous command with this new information. Our new command will be am start -a android.intent.action.listNotes -n com els secure notes /notes. And now we'll run it. As we can see, the list of the notes appears on the screen, meaning we have successfully bypassed the login view without even trying to insert the correct passcode. So as we've seen in this video, the Android SDK offers some very useful tools that allow us to interact with running devices. They may be used to force applications to run specific operations that may allow a malicious user to bypass security controls like the one seen in the previous application. We advise you to run the Activity Manager tool against different targets in order to force applications to run under your control. Thanks for joining us.